Before we get started, I want to share something for my listeners who are navigating grad school or supporting others who are. Are you feeling stuck or overwhelmed in your grad school preparation process? Or maybe you're part of a campus program trying to guide students through it all with limited time, staff, and tools. Trust me, I've been there and I've got something for you. I offer interactive and culturally responsive grad admissions and sustainable productivity workshops designed specifically for first-gen, BIPOC, low-income, neurodivergent, and non-traditional students. These workshops go beyond the basics as I cover everything from personal statement writing and funding your degree to overcoming burnout and building systems that actually work for your life and circumstances. If you're a student, I invite you to tell your program directors or support staff about these workshops as they're tailored to fill the gaps most programs can't always cover. And if you're an advisor or program director listening in, I get it. I've been in your shoes as a former program director myself, and I collaborate with institutions of all sizes. I'm also committed to working with your budget to make sure your students get the support they deserve. You can learn more and view testimonials at gradschoolfemtoring.com/speaking or head to my Talkadot speaker profile to view my sample speaking videos and read what past campuses have said. Let's work to close the hidden curriculum gap together. Did you know that right now there are people all over the world pitching themselves, pitching their services to individuals that they admire, to individuals that they know that they can form a mutually beneficial relationship? Did you know that they are creating their own opportunities and that that's something that you can do for yourself too? Well, if you didn't know, then you're going to want to tune in to today's episode because it is all about how to pitch yourself to create your own opportunities. Welcome to the award-winning Grad School Femtoring Podcast, the place for first-gen BIPOCs to listen in on inclusive grad school stories and learn about personal development and productivity tips. This is Doctora Yvette Martinez-Vu, a certified coach, consultant, and author, and I will be serving as your Femtor, providing you with insider knowledge to help you reach your personal and professional goals. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Grad School Femtoring Podcast. This is your host, Doctora Yvette. And today, I feel like I have a really good episode to cover because it's a skill that can repay you in so many ways, like beyond even monetizing. It's a life skill. It's a career skill. It's something that everybody should have in their back pocket, and it's something that was introduced to me when I was in college, but I didn't realize just how game-changing it was and how it's applicable across the board beyond just research and academics. So I want to talk to you about the topic of pitching because it's something that has been coming up for me a lot, and it's something that I think that you could gain a lot of if you learn a little bit more about what it is and how to do it successfully. So what is pitching? When I think about a pitch, I think about a short, succinct, self-contained speech to sell yourself and to tell someone else what you can offer them. It involves introducing yourself, presumably to someone who might not know you. You want to tell them about you, tell them about what makes you stand out. This might include some notable achievements, anything that's relevant to what you're pitching them, right? So you bring up this idea, you bring up an offer, and then you let them know how this could benefit them or how this could be mutually beneficial for both of you. And then once you send out that pitch, you want to see how they respond, see what it is that resonates with them, and keep honing in on that skill. Now, I mentioned that when I was first introduced to the idea of pitching, it was in college, and this was back when I was introduced to the concept of a 3-minute elevator pitch. And I remember teaching about how to come up with your own elevator pitch, even when I was the graduate student mentoring undergrads. I even continued to teach about the elevator pitch when I worked full-time in higher ed, working with McNair scholars, helping them to perfect their 3-minute elevator pitch related to their undergraduate research projects. But remember, a pitch is applicable beyond higher education. So when we were teaching 3-minute pitches, we were trying to teach students how to speak succinctly about them, about their research, about why it should matter to other people. Now, in this case, aside from wanting to learn how to perfect your research pitch, if you are still conducting research, maybe you're working on an undergraduate thesis, maybe you're working on a master's thesis, maybe you're completing a dissertation, it is quite helpful to be able to talk about your work succinctly. You also want to be able to have a 3-minute pitch about yourself, about your work, about what you stand for more broadly. You also want to have a 3-minute pitch when you're going in for any interview. So maybe you're applying to jobs right now. You want to have a 3-minute version of who you are, what you stand for, why you're applying to this job in particular. So that skill of perfecting that 3-minute pitch is really, really helpful. But then beyond that 3-minute pitch, I also want you to familiarize yourself with other ways that you could be pitching yourself. The other ways include pitching yourself for internship opportunities. This has come up on several occasions for me. In fact, I'm thinking about 2 specific examples. One was back when I was advising McNair scholars. I remember there was one year that one student was set on applying to summer research programs. And so the student applied. And unfortunately, if I remember correctly, I don't think that they got into any summer programs, but they really, really wanted to not be at their current institution and instead pursue a summer internship experience elsewhere. So what she did was inquired about whether there was funding through our program to sponsor her to work with another summer program. And we agreed to doing this. The student then went and crafted a pitch email to this professor or advisor that she really wanted to work with, let the professor know that there was no money coming in out of her own pocket, that all she needed was the advising, the research experience, the support, that she would be there to assist the professor in whatever capacity that the professor needed. And guess what? The professor said yes, and the student managed to get sponsored through our program, and she had that summer research experience off campus like she wanted. That was a really great success story. I also have a similar success story that's more recent of finding out about someone that I used to work with who was searching for different opportunities and found out that at their institution, they provide funding to graduate students for internships. But the caveat here is that the Career Center doesn't provide you with an internship. You have to go out and search for it, or you have to go out and create it. And so this graduate student, in fact, this person's a PhD candidate, decided to go out and do their research on different entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, doing work related to some of the skills that this person wanted to build. And the student pitched themselves and landed their internship. That's another opportunity that wouldn't have happened if that person had not pitched themselves. I'm thinking actually of another example back when I was a graduate student. I was so envious because I remember it was around the time that a different department has started offering internship funding to their graduate students. This was another humanities department. I was not in that department. And I knew someone who was in that department, and that person tapped into that funding. So she found out, hey, my department's offering some funding for the summer to get a summer internship to help to diversify the options of career paths for folks in those fields. And if I remember correctly, she landed an internship at some sort of tech company, and she would have never imagined working for a tech company as someone with a humanities PhD or on her way to getting a humanities PhD. In these opportunities, you'll notice that the folks had some sort of sponsor. So they had some sponsoring funding coming from somewhere. And this is my suggestion to you, is that if you are a current student, undergrad or grad student, see if there are any untapped sources of funding. If not, you can still pitch yourself either to get paid by the person that you're pitching yourself to. You could do volunteer work for the sake of experience if you're comfortable with doing that, although I completely respect and honor if you don't want to do any work that doesn't compensate you financially. And the other option, if you're not asking to get paid a certain hourly rate or asking to do this work on a volunteer basis, is to pitch yourself for some bartering. And the bartering here, meaning that you are offering to receive support services from someone or to receive this internship opportunity from someone in exchange for something else. So you provide one type of support and they provide you with something else. So this actually happened to me recently with someone wanting to work with me, wanting to receive my coaching services and agreeing to do it in exchange for helping me with some administrative tasks. We set it up. I came up with a bartering agreement. We did it, and it actually worked out quite well. I got the support I needed. This person got the coaching support that they needed. And so it was a win-win on both our ends. And in fact, I want to stress how helpful it can be to consider opening yourself to bartering opportunities. I don't feel like we barter enough nowadays. Sometimes, we offer favors to folks, but if you're a giving person, a lot of times you're giving, and not receiving enough. So at least with a barter, you know that you're guaranteed receiving something in exchange, so that folks aren't just always taking from you. And I can be like that. I'm the type of person that I've always loved being a helper. I've loved giving, but I've realized that's why I set really firm boundaries now, that I can't give all the time. That's what leads to me burning out. That's what leads to me being over capacity. And that's what leads to me getting sicker. So if I want to be able to do this long term, if I want to not just survive but thrive, I have to set my boundaries. I have to make sure I'm involved in reciprocal relationships and that I'm doing work that also pays me back or compensates me in some way. So just consider that. Consider the option of maybe if I cannot find any sources of funding that can sponsor me, I can see if there's any way that I could arrange a barter with someone who could potentially help me out and I could potentially help them out in different ways. I'm taking a quick pause to tell you about one of my favorite time-saving tools, Descript. I use it to transcribe interviews, generate podcast show notes, create short social media clips, and record easy-to-share tutorials for my clients. It's also incredibly useful for academics. You can create accessible course materials with captions and transcripts, share explainer videos with your students, and make all of your material searchable and easier to organize. If you're looking for a more efficient way to work, check out my affiliate link in the show notes. So I mentioned the 3-minute pitch. I mentioned pitching yourself for internship opportunities. I mentioned considering a bartering opportunity. And then also keep in mind that going back to pitching yourself to do paid work, you can pitch yourself to create your own side hustle. I am not a fan of folks having to overwork themselves to make ends meet, but I also acknowledge that thanks to inflation, I'm an elder millennial. I know Gen Z feels it just as much, if not more than us, but it just feels like cost of living keeps going higher and higher and wages have not kept up. And that makes it so that so many of us are having to find new and creative ways to make ends meet. So if you find yourself in that same position, then I would want to encourage you to look beyond job boards. A lot of folks I know are looking for jobs and they're like, oh, can you send me an ad? I'm looking for this type of job. I want it to be part-time. I want it to be remote. And they're searching on the job boards and very few are remote, or if they're remote, they're very low pay, or maybe they're looking for part-time work and everything is full-time work, or maybe they're looking for remote and it's hybrid. You get it. It can be tricky to find what you need when you're searching job boards where, in fact, 90% of jobs out there are part of the hidden job market. They're not even being posted publicly on job boards. So you're missing out on a lot of opportunities if you're not networking and also if you're not creating opportunities for yourself. So this is just to remind you that if you're looking for other ways to make ends meet, don't discount potentially pitching yourself to others. This might look like pitching yourself to a professor to help them with their research and organizing. I remember someone in grad school who used to babysit her advisor's kids, and that's how she made a little bit of spare change. You could also pitch yourself to be a tutor. Maybe you're tutoring a neighbor's kid or someone, their kid. I mean, I mentioned on my social media recently that I took on a college admissions client for the first time in a long time. I don't really do that. I primarily work on grad school admissions and productivity consulting. So that's not really my thing, but they really, really wanted to work with me and they came highly recommended and they reached out and proposed this to me like, hey, we really want your work. We really want to hire you. And I'm like, okay, you want to work with me so badly? I'll say yes. And thankfully it worked out for that high schooler that even though they didn't get in last year, they reapplied and got in this year and they're starting college at a UC in NorCal this fall. And it's really, really exciting. But that was all because they didn't go to my site and look at my services and take no for an answer. They didn't look at my website and think, oh, she only does X, Y, and Z. Then we can't reach out to her because she's not going to want to work with us. No, they saw me. They knew that I could help them. And they pitched this idea of, hey, can you help us with the college admissions process? And I said, yes. So don't discount that. In fact, I'm trying to be more creative about the ways that I can help others through the many different knowledge and skills that I have, because I get questions all the time related to other things that I know, whether that's editing or podcasting or executive functioning skills. There are different things that I can offer and I don't even know it. And perhaps all I need is someone to pitch me to let me know about it so that I know, oh, wait, I can do that too. So keep that in mind. Maybe you can pitch yourself to become a virtual assistant for a busy entrepreneur. You, as a graduate student, if you are a graduate student, you have all the skills you need to become a VA for someone. And entrepreneurs need help and assistance all the time. So that's another way that you could potentially pitch yourself to create your own little side job. Maybe you pitch yourself to offer editing services. Are you that friend that people are asking to review their papers all the time? I know I was. Remember, you can use that to your advantage to offer support or to offer a barter to get something in exchange. Because like I said earlier, we can't just keep giving, giving, giving. You're pitching yourself to get something for yourself and also to offer something to them. So I want to keep emphasizing the reciprocal aspect of it. It's not just you taking. It's not just you giving. There should be a back and forth here. So the last thing that I want to mention before I start wrapping up is that you can also pitch yourself to collaborate with admired professionals. I'm still working on this because this still falls outside of my comfort zone. You can reach out to people that you admire, that you adore, maybe even someone you hold up on a pedestal. Although I personally try not to hold people on pedestals because I know no one is perfect and we are all flawed and we all make mistakes. And a lot of people that I used to look up to because of their writing and research turned out to not be great individuals. So I know better than to put people on pedestals. But just know that if there's someone whose work you admire or who you know you admire, and you've always wanted to meet them or work with them or work for them, don't discount creating that opportunity for yourself. This could mean reaching out to an admired professor and pitching yourself to be on a panel with them. That's actually something I did when I was a grad student. Along with my friend Ceci, we reached out to Michelle, who was a professor at the time, and we admired her work and we wanted to be on a panel with her. And guess what? Even though we felt like there's no way she's going to say yes, she did say yes. And then that became an entire collective, all because we were willing to pitch ourselves. Another thing you could do is you could reach out to someone whose article you read and love and send them an email to let them know that you love their article, or even let them know that you'd love to meet them at an academic conference. What a great way to set up potential networking and community building opportunity for yourself there. In my case, like I said, it's still an area of discomfort for me, so I know that I could be reaching out to folks who I know have maybe a bigger audience or a bigger impact and whose work I really look up to. I could ask them to be on my podcast. I could ask them to co-host a workshop. I could find a way to collaborate with them. And I'm still working on that. It's still something that I have to get over. And I'm just being real with y'all. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And that's something that I personally want to make as a goal for myself, is to start to reach out to more people that I admire, to let them know why I admire them, and if there's ever an opportunity for collaboration, to open myself up to that. Okay, so now I'm getting close to wrapping up, and I definitely want to let you know that if everything that I'm sharing feels a little bit uncomfortable, if this feels like self-promotion, if this feels like bragging, if this feels icky to you, please know it's completely understandable. For a lot of us, it's brand new. It's part of that hidden curriculum. For a lot of us, culturally, we are taught to be humble. We are taught to not stand out. We are taught to be passive. And so it's not easy to do this, but it does get better over time. And remind yourself, you have something to offer to anyone that you're pitching yourself to. And there might be someone on the other end who's been waiting for this opportunity that you're proposing. So keep that in mind. I also want to say that now that I'm an entrepreneur, I get pitches all the time, and most of them are terrible. So if you do decide to send a pitch, please do your research. Please come from a place of sincerity, from a place of authenticity. If you don't know them and you're reaching out to them, don't bother. If you do know them and you are genuinely excited and you know that this could potentially become a really generative opportunity for you, then go ahead and do it. You're coming from a place of authenticity. If you're coming from a place of genuinely wanting to connect, genuinely wanting to build your own opportunities, strengthen your own relationships with others, then this is my reminder to you that it's definitely possible. So don't get in your way of creating your own opportunities. Learn from me. I'm still trying to learn this. I'm still trying to get better at pitching myself, because at the other end of things, even though it's uncomfortable for me, there have been times I have pitched myself to folks, and like I said, they were waiting for me. I had someone, I personally reached out to her. She had worked with me before and worked with me in a group capacity. And I just had this feeling, I was like, oh, this would be a really great person to work with. But also, I don't want to pressure her. And also, I don't know if she wants to work with me. But I sent an email like, just a heads up, I'm taking on more one-on-one clients. If you know anyone or if you personally need support, let me know. I'm here. And she reached back out right away, and she needed support. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness I listened to my gut and my intuition that was telling me to reach out to her, even though I felt icky and uncomfortable. And guess what? We're both benefiting from it. So that's the last thing I want to say. Remember to work on your 3-minute pitch for different circumstances. Remember to pitch yourself for internships. Pitch yourself for side hustles. Remember to consider bartering as a potential other option. And I hope that you can start pitching yourself to collaborate with people you admire too. I hope you found this helpful, and I will talk to you all next time. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, here are 3 ways you can support the show. The first is to make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. The second way is to get your copy of my free resource kit linked in my show notes. This kit includes tools, worksheets, and podcast playlists on all things grad school, productivity, and personal development. The third way to support my show is to follow me on social media. You can find me on Instagram with the handle @Grad School Femtoring and on LinkedIn by searching my name. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.